good flight, good trip. The best part was on the flight over, I had a whole row to myself. Was able to lay down and sleep, which was amazing. So it was really good. But it is great to be home. I was able to go see friends over there that I've gotten to know for now a decade. It's a lot of fun to be able to go see some of these folks and to see some changes in their lives and to hear about what's going on. It's also very heartbreaking to see how COVID has affected them. They've had a lot of the same struggles we have. Programs that just haven't been able to bounce back, programs that are having to close because there's just not the need or the volunteer support. And then we were talking to some folks that we knew and loved that said they lost husbands, they lost best friends, they lost children to COVID and other illness that took place. So I was able to go get a lot of the answers we were looking for, which is wonderful. And I came home with a lot more questions, but that's a mission trip. So that's exactly what happens. But I'm glad to be here with you this evening. On the table over on the side, gateways are over there. If you have not yet gotten one, I would love for you to do so, to be able to take an idea of what's going on. Next to it, back there next to Wayne Harmon. Wayne, will you show everybody? Look at that. It is the new resource handbook. If you have not yet picked one of those up, do so. I have a feeling your name is in it. You'll want a copy of that. And if you would like to have a digital copy of that, contact Frances in the office. She will send you a PDF of it, and we'll go forward with there. Other announcements. My understanding is Jim Hinkle went into his surgery late this afternoon. We do not yet have word as to how that is going. Barbara Nolan had some of her shoulder work done this morning and have not yet heard back from Hank on how that is. I'm trying to think of what else Francis briefed me on before I came down. What other prayer concerns do you have that I need to be aware of? All of us. Well, lovely. All right. It's good to see you. I'm going to get out of the way here in a second. I'll have Vic introduce our guest, and I greatly appreciate you being here with us tonight, Michael. Thank you so much. Will you join me in prayer? God, we're grateful for this night and this time for us to be able to gather, to listen to what is a very challenging issue and one that affects all of us. Because it brings out something in many that you've asked us not to have inside of our hearts, and it's hatred, and it's hurt, and it's pain. Instead, God, you ask us to love. You ask us to give tender mercy. You ask us to give grace and understanding. You ask for us to find a way to be brothers and sisters, your children together. So open not only our ears tonight, but also our hearts to not only the plight and the hurt of others, but how we can be a part of bringing change and hope and a beautiful kingdom together. We say this in your Son's name. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Vic?
Good evening. On Sunday, we shared the quote from Dr. King that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And together we prayed on Sunday to loosen the bonds of injustice and spur us to action. So against that backdrop, I'm thrilled to be the one to formally welcome you to Epiphanies /Bible study /handbells whatever brought you here. But what really brought you here, I know, was an interest in how we can continue to make our community the very best that it can through your actions and your deeds and your attentiveness. And so I'm grateful personally for you to being here. I have a formal introduction for our guest, and I'm going to move through that one and then give a real introduction. But I want to make sure you know the wonderful time that we're going to experience together this evening. Michael Dzik joined the Jewish Federation of Greater Chattanooga in 1998. That sounds long ago, but quarter century, look at that. And he assumed the role of executive director just 3 years later as the youngest executive director in the Federation system, of which there are over 150 throughout North America. At the Jewish Federation of Greater Chattanooga, he oversees the Jewish Cultural Center and provides leadership and vision to the Federation offices, programs, preschool, their exhibits, and fundraising activities. In the community, in addition to his work at the foundation, he is a very active and vibrant presence as a leader in community philanthropy, education, and nonprofit workplace initiatives. Slide 2. His work has led to numerous community awards and definitely deserved recognition, including the Alfred P. Sloan Award for Workplace Excellence from the Chattanooga Chamber of Commerce, chair of the Federation's Executive Institute, and he was the first recipient of the Spirit of the Light Award presented by the local Christians United for Israel organization in 2015. Okay, now the real introduction. I first met Michael about 20 years ago. The Chattanooga Boys Choir had the opportunity to collaborate with the Federation on the observance of Yom HaShoah, the official remembrance of the Holocaust remembrance in the Jewish calendar. I was blown away by the way Michael made sure that everybody who participated in this project, and we're talking as young as 9 or 10 years old through college, through high school seniors, were affirmed, were thanked, were informed about what we were endeavoring to do together. And we've done this project 4 or 5 times since, and it's been just profound and so life-changing for these young choristers. And I will say that those 4th and 5th graders that first endeavored in this project with us 20 years ago, they're now in their early 30s. And they have used this experience as part of their college admissions essays. They are living lives of justice and seeking good and being a force for change and being peacemakers. And they are raising their own children with that same level of an understanding of being an agent of change and betterment, in large part because of those experiences and many more that Michael and the staff of the Jewish Federation have created and continue to make available to all of Chattanooga, for which I am personally grateful. And so will you please join me in welcoming Michael Dzik.
I have to tell you, is it on? We're on? It makes me a little nervous to have, I feel like I'm a rock star or something, so I apologize. And I've already been told, by the way, that I'm not allowed to go more than a couple feet either side, which is going to be a challenge for me. Vic knows this. I like to move and shake, and Vic, thank you for that beautiful introduction, and our friendship has grown over time. This is a special guy right here, for sure, and what he does for our community. Inside and out, just an amazing individual. Okay, so I'm here to talk a little bit about antisemitism. Yeah, I know. Uplifting topic, right? Uplifting topic, but it's something, I gotta stand to the side. I gotta move my hands. Where do I start? Let's start with the Jewish Federation, first of all. And where's Julie? There's Julie. So I've known Julie for 20 years also. And so the Jewish Federation here in Chattanooga, I hate to start by saying we're a nonprofit. We are, but we're about engagement and community and unity and social justice and impact and all of these things. Here's the unique piece. Even though it says Jewish Federation right in our name, we are not a religious organization. The synagogues handle all the religious things and the services and prayer and things like that. We, the Jewish Federation, are kind of the central Jewish organization in the community and in various communities around the country. We are the preschool, and we are the programs, cultural programs. So think of film series, think of food programs, think of exhibits, think of July 4th picnics, think of a Hanukkah party where we're lighting the candles together and coming together. It's a place for the Jewish community to convene, whether you go to synagogue or not go to synagogue or however you practice your Judaism, that's where we are. We also are the social services. Our community is quite connected and united and cohesive, so we have a full-time social worker and a part-time nurse, and you're thinking, oh, so we're there for the Jewish community. And yes, we are there for the Jewish community. That is, of course, our priority. That part is in our name, but we mostly actually serve people in the non-Jewish community. We help with transportation if you need to get to a doctor's appointment. We are giving you resources. We're doing home visits. We're doing phone check-ins. We have a part-time nurse that goes and takes people if they need to go to the doctor and they don't understand the doctor lingo. She'll go with you to the doctor's appointment and translate and help. We're here to help people and give them dignity as we get older, but also not just to live, but to thrive as much as possible as well. We do tons of communication. We're out on Facebook. I think we're on Instagram. I'm not savvy in that kinds of things. We have a website. We have, I mentioned the preschool. We do food programs. So not only do we do transportation and the social services, we do like a Meals on Wheels. So again, people in the Jewish community, people in the non-Jewish community, and we're delivering meals once a week. And those that can pay will pay. Those that can't afford will pay less, and those can't afford will pay zero. We feel that we're a member of the community, not just the Jewish community. During COVID, we were one of the sponsors and founders of the Brainerd Food Pantry because we are part of the community. That's our neighborhood, and we want to take care of our neighborhood too. So we work really hard to build friendships and build relationships with other organizations, with other faith communities, because we need you. And hopefully you need us a little bit as well. I mean, we're neighbors, we're friends, and we need to learn from each other and build understandings. I think that's part of the reason I'm here tonight as well. So that's a little bit about the Jewish Federation. And I'm happy to answer questions, interrupt me, wait till the end, however you want to do it. You will not hurt my feelings. Okay, anti-Semitism. Anybody want to take a shot at what the definition would be? How would you define anti-Semitism? Anybody? Anti-Jewish, yeah. You know, there's the different states around the country. Even our federal government has a definition. I like to use my definition because I think it's really short and unfortunately not so sweet. It's the hatred or prejudice against Jews because they're Jews. That's it. And you think, oh, well, you know, it means that people get beat up sometimes or shot or that. Yes, that's obviously an extreme case. It's intimidation. It's insensitive jokes that are out there, tropes, stereotypes. Words matter. Words matter. And Vic and I were talking earlier that anti-Semitism used to be kind of underground. We knew it was there. We knew the white supremacists were there and the Aryan nation was there. We knew that. But now it's out. It's in public. And the challenging part for the Jewish community is that when something happens, I can go to the extreme of Charlottesville, you know, the rally that was there, or the shooting in Pittsburgh at the synagogue. But sometimes it's quiet. The Jewish community stands up and is an outrage. Who else is standing up with us? And that's, you know, it's a challenge, and that's why we put these billboards up. So many of you, who's seen the bill? Oh my gosh, you warmed my heart. The reason we put up those billboards, and I know this is going to sound a little crazy, is we felt like the white supremacists, the Nazis, that's not our audience. We're not going to change their minds. We need to call them out, but we're not going to change their minds. It's most people are out there just don't know. They're driving in their own lane, and they're going to work, or they're with their grandkids, they're having dinners, they're taking their kids to soccer or ballet or wherever, and they're just living their life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But things are happening around in our community, things are happening in the world, and people are getting hurt. People are being intimidated, people are scared. That's the thing I hear more than anything from people, members of the Jewish community. They're scared. They just don't know. The Jewish community in Chattanooga is very small, 1,500, 1,700 people, 13 million Jews in the world. 13 million Jews in the world. You know, what we hear, the three main religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. I think actually, I think Hinduism, it might be actually the largest because of India and China. Buddhism is a large, but Jewish community is like teeny, teeny, tiny. In the United States, it's less than 2% of the population. More than 60% of the religious hate crimes are against the Jewish community. Yeah, that's a staggering, if you think about it, that's a staggering number. So some of the things that the Jewish community has done over many, many years, and unfortunately from experience, security is a huge deal for us. Cameras and the breakaway glass windows on your building doors, making sure that there's keypad entries so people can't just walk in and out. I was speaking with a pastor yesterday. We are taught to welcome the stranger, right? Welcome the stranger. And yet, we're locking our doors and not letting people in, we the Jewish community, because we're scared. So one of the billboards, and actually, by the way, I brought some postcards because we turned the billboards into postcards, and I hope you'll take some. I put them off to the side. Give them to your friends. Put them out there. If you're going to, this is a great opportunity for people to say, I didn't think about that. But one of the billboards, does your church need armed guards? Because our synagogue does. Every single Sabbath, our synagogues, which for us, we go on Saturdays, we have an armed, off-duty police officer in there with their marked Chattanooga police car every Saturday. On Sunday, which is when our kids go to Sunday school, we have an armed guard every Sunday. When we have large events, and I would consider this a large event for the Jewish community, if we had an event like this at our building, we would have an armed guard. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, the Jewish community actually feels they're upset if we don't have a police officer. They feel comforted by having that police officer. We recognize that it's a deterrent. Is it going to stop somebody? We hope it at least makes somebody think twice. And by the way, the security that we do at our building is just as relevant for you, right? Is your doors open? Are your doors locked? How do you do this? Do you have greeters to welcome people that are members? And then how do you grapple with, there's been shootings at churches. There's been shootings in mosques. How do you grapple with being welcoming versus being safe and feeling safe? So that's a huge, huge challenge for us. So what does anti-Semitism look like? Look, it's easy to say, these are the Nazis and here's the white supremacists. We see those things, we hear those things. Again, it used to be underground. Now it's definitely more public. I think some of that is because of social media and also because of the news cycle that used to be every day is now every 5 minutes. Again, my opinion. But what does it sound like? It can be something as simple as, aren't Jews the one who started the fires in California, those Jewish space lasers? I know it's crazy, right? But that's in our backyard. I'm going to negotiate with that person and see if I can Jew them down. We laugh about it. It's an insinuation that all Jews are cheap. Jews, they rule the banks. They control Hollywood. Where's this coming from? First of all, it's not true. What happens is lies get told, untruths get told over and over and over and over for generations. People start to believe it. They think it's true. Well, of course all Jews are cheap. All Jews are rich. Well, I'll be the one to tell you with our social service department, all Jews are not rich. It's a struggle that we have. What does it look like? What does it sound like? So let me give you a scenario. Let's say you're with some friends and you're outside, you see somebody walking down the street and, sometimes people trip and fall, they drop their books or papers or whatever they have. What do? Sometimes you're stunned a little bit, like, you catches your breath, oh my God, are they okay? And you see them slowly get up and pick their stuff and they walk away. Do we go over to them and say, hey, are you okay? You need any help? A lot of times we don't do that. And that sounds so simple. Well, one of the reasons we don't do it is if you're in a group, it's called the bystander effect. I'll get to a point, I promise. The bystander effect is that when you're around a group of people, you're less likely to go intervene or help somebody who's in need. Think of a bully. Bullies are out there. You know why people stop bullying? Somebody intervenes and calls out the bully. The bully will stop. Another scenario, what if you're in line at the bank, you're at a restaurant, you're at the grocery store, and you hear somebody in front of you or behind you and they start talking and they make a a racist joke, an anti-Semitic joke, you know, do you say anything? Do you bite your tongue? Do you know that if it's anti-Semitic or not? Well, you know, one of my criteria is if somebody says something that's absolute, all Jews are rich, all Jews are, it's probably bigoted. Do you say anything, though? What if you're in a group and that joke or that comment is made by somebody in your group? It's tough, right? You want to bite your tongue, you want to pretend it didn't happen, you want to shake your head, but we don't say anything. Most of the time, we don't say anything. So how do we stop from being a bystander? You know, I always hate going to the extreme of the Holocaust, but I can't not bring up the Holocaust. The Holocaust didn't start with gas chambers. If we think, and now we know, but I don't know if anybody's been to the Holocaust exhibit that's at the Chattanooga Library now. I brought flyers for that too. You've been. It's amazing. And it's a short visit. You can 30, 45 minutes. It's powerful. The largest group of people who were involved in the Holocaust were bystanders. People in these communities, they saw the death marches, they could see or smell the crematoria. They turned their heads. It's not my business. I'm not going to help. I'm going to go about living my life. The Holocaust could have been stopped so easily. The perpetrators were such a small group. The Hitler and his people were such a small group, but people didn't stand up. So, you know, again, why didn't they stand up? Some is that people, some is the social influence. Well, I'm not going to do it because other people are here and nobody else is helping, so I don't have to help. You know, sometimes we think, somebody else is going to go do it. Somebody's going to do it for me. Somebody else will do it, right? Well, I'm here to tell you, you need to be that someone. You need to be the person that takes action. And I know you're going to be at the bank or you're going to be at the grocery store and you're going to hear that comment and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I know I'm supposed to say something, but I'm uncomfortable. It's okay. I know it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. But you have to say something. If you want to know how to stop the hateful talk, because by the way, if they hate Jews, they probably hate blacks, and they probably hate, and hate doesn't live in a vacuum. Hate is not in a bubble. It's all intersected. It's all right there. So I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know you're going to be nervous. You have to say something. You have to call it out. In your own way, call it out. We don't say that anymore. Did you know that that's anti-Semitic? And I know, we are taught, you mind our own business. I'm telling you in this case, racism, anti-Semitism, sexism, LGBT, whatever it is, call it out. I ask you, I plead, please call it out. You've heard it was Pastor Niemöller, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Niemöller from Germany after the Holocaust. He was lecturing and he had this saying that he would give in his lectures, you know, they came for the socialists. I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't stand up. They came for the trade unionists. I wasn't a trade unionist, so I didn't stand up. They came for the Jews. I wasn't Jewish. I didn't stand up. Then they came for me, and there was nobody left to stand up. This is part of the issue. Elie Wiesel, who was a Holocaust survivor and Nobel Peace Prize laureate, he said, we must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. And I know we have to kind of absorb that a little bit, but that's big stuff, right? Because we want to turn our head. We want to go about our lives. It's easier. But by not saying anything, you're helping the bully. You're helping the anti-Semite. You're helping the racist. Sometimes, silence is deafening. You hear that phrase before? This is a perfect example. Anti-Semitism happens in this community. And it happens more often than I would like to admit, that we probably all would like to admit. 45 years ago, I don't know how many people, I grew up in Chattanooga, by the way, and so I've been here a long time. I remember as a child this event that one of our synagogues was bombed and blew up by a white supremacist, and I think it was 1977. And again, extreme case, but I can go back 8 years ago, and our building, the Jewish Cultural Center right here in Brainerd, a couple of our vehicles, I was telling you we did transportation services, a couple of our vehicles in the middle of the night were torched and burned. Right, I mean, scary. 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago now, Walnut Street Bridge, right here, I think, swastikas painted on the bridge. Right, Chattanooga. 4 months ago, one of the candidates running for city council, and I don't want to mention her name, was posting and ranting about Jews were in the majority of the slave traders. Lies, proven lies, yet was ranting and raving and putting out this anti-Semitic stuff. By the way, most Jews weren't here in this country before 1865. It would have been hard for us to be the majority, but lies. And this candidate, by the way, thankfully lost by 70 votes. 7-0. Would have had a seat on the council, would have had a platform. To me, a very dangerous individual. November, so now we're 3 months ago, there were flyers put up on UTC's campus. I don't know if you saw that in the news. Anti-Semitic. And by the way, I give them a little credit because they put these little websites at the bottom that makes it look like it's legitimate, like we've done our research, this is what's really happening. They're hate websites if you actually went and looked at them. These are the things that have to be called out. I told Vic, I don't know if you saw on the news over the weekend, in Atlanta, just down the street, a white supremacist group put pieces of paper with anti-Semitic stuff all over the paper. They put it into a Ziploc bag, so think of like your newspaper that they used to throw out in the morning, and put a couple little rocks in there so it stays in your driveway. 400 or 500 of them passed out in Sandy Springs and Roswell, and it's made national news. Those things happen in Chattanooga. I get that all the time. Every couple of years, somebody will say, "Can I bring this to you? This is what happened. This is what happened." So what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? I've told you, you call it out, right? You've got to call it out. The other thing that you have to do is educate yourself. I am not by any means an expert. I'm not a rabbi. I'm a Jewish professional. I've been doing this, as Vic said, for 25 years. This is my community. This is my home. I raised my family here. You have to educate yourself. The best source, Anti-Defamation League. You've probably heard of that. I think it's one of the oldest fighting against hate organizations. They were founded in 1913. Learn the vocabulary. Know what's anti-Semitic or that twisted truth and what the language means, and just to have some basic information so that when somebody confronts you or needs to learn something, you know what to do. Hey, that's not true. We need to go, I'm going to research that, or I'm going to tell you, let's go to the ADL and let's talk about those things and let's learn, because again, the majority of folks just don't know. Just don't know. And that's the reason for the billboard. That's the reason for the billboard, to start the dialogue, to be in a place like this, to be invited to a place like this, so we can talk about it and have a dialogue with each other. Can we make a difference? So I like to kind of finish at least some of my formal remarks with a story. It's a very Jewish thing to do. We tell lots of stories. So if you've heard this one, don't spoil the ending, please. I call it the starfish story. So big storm on the coast comes through and washes up starfish all up and down the beach. Thousands of starfish all over the place. A little 9 or 10-year-old girl, it's after the storm, comes out and picks up one of the starfish and throws it back into the ocean, and people are watching her, and she picks up another one and throws another one in. Finally, a man comes up to her and says, "Little girl, what are you doing? There's thousands here. You cannot save any. You cannot save them all." She puts her head down, kind of dejected, and she picks up another one and throws it in, and she goes, "But I saved that one." The man smiles. He starts picking them up. She continues to pick them up and throw. Everybody else comes from the beach and starts picking and throws them up. People can make a difference. One person can make a difference. Look at the influence, the positive influence. Let's not look at the negative. What's the positive influence? And can somebody make a difference? I tell them, ask the starfish, right? Made a difference. So I'm here standing before you humbly saying, we need your help. We need you to stand up with us. And I know that there are probably causes that you feel near and dear to, and we need to stand with you. It's a partnership. It's a relationship. We build bridges with people. We don't have to agree. We just need to understand. Because if I understand where you're coming from, and you understand where I'm coming from, at least we have that perspective, right? We have a different perspective. Like, I never thought the Jewish community has to have armed guards. The Jewish community does this. You don't think about it because we're in our lanes. We stay in our lanes. So, I know I brought the room down a little bit. Let's uplift a little bit now. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about the Jewish community? What do you want to know about anti-Semitism? What do you want to know about Judaism? Again, not a scholar, not a rabbi, but what do you want to know? Don't be bashful, because otherwise I'll just keep rambling. Yes, sir.
What are the people of the Jewish community doing to overcome this, to integrate into this community?
Right. So I'm going to repeat, because I know there's people streaming. So what is the Jewish community doing to overcome some of these challenges and obstacles? Some of it we have to face internally, right? We have to make sure that our facilities are secure. We have to make sure that our community is educated about being aware. The other thing that we have to do, and I think we do very well, but we have to do more of, is exactly what I'm doing tonight. And that's dialogue, talk, come here, let's share, let's have a meal together. I didn't know this about Judaism. I didn't know this about this church. I didn't know this, I didn't know that. We have to build those relationships. First of all, it's great to have. As human beings, I think we are designed to be around other people. But we also need the friendships when times are not so good, right? We have to have them when they're not so good. So the anti-Semitism is an issue. If we had a friendship already, which we're starting this evening, you might be out there, you might be our cheerleader. You might be coming to an event. You might be at this security event to say, this is not right. Maybe you're writing your elected officials we need to have more support for the Jewish community because they're being threatened. There's lots of those types of things that you guys can do. And we're doing our best. Again, raising our families and going to work every day and all of those types of things. But when I'll tell you, as those parents go and they drop their kids off for Sunday school, there's a little piece in the back of their heads that knows what happened in Pittsburgh or in Texas or in California and there's a little bit of fear. We don't live in fear, but you know that there's still a little switch in the back of your head. I would throw the question also back. What can we do? What can we do together to make this better? Again, I don't believe, and I hate to say this, but I don't believe we're going to ever end racism or anti-Semitism. But we can sure as heck push it back underground and put it out to the sides again. And that's what we're trying to do. Because we, the Jewish community, are not going to sit on our hands anymore. We have to do something. So the billboards was something. We're going to do more, and we're going to keep doing exactly what we're doing and moving forward. I think I saw a hand come up over. Yes, ma'am.
I want to say a word of appreciation to the Jewish Cultural Center. I don't remember how I first learned that you had this,
Oh, yeah. Paper clips, sure.
When some of the horrendous events happened and people wanted to gather and
Right.
support, we've been to those.
Thank you.
How can we, how do you publicize?
First of all, thank you, and keep doing what you're doing, because you're educating yourself. You know, some of the things like the films or discussion groups or the Linda Hooper, right? All these things you're learning, right? These are things you didn't know, and we feel that culture, you know, sharing these types of experiences, is like a lens into the Jewish community, so to speak. Yes. You're like my marketing person. You want to come up? This is great. So, yes, so jewishchattanooga.com. I don't know why 25 years ago we were a .com and not a .org, but we're a .com, even though we're an org. But jewishchattanooga.com. And as you know, a lot of the people, probably at least 50% of the people that come to our film series, longest and international film series in Chattanooga, 15 or 16 years, it's amazing. By the way, are non-Jews, because they're interesting films. They're interesting films. Our documentary series, we do a feature series that you've probably been to, and our documentary series is actually starting next month in March. So you can come in person, you can come virtually, however you want. But again, it's to educate, to learn. How can we do a better job of sharing that message and letting people know that the programs exist? If your church is willing, we'll send it out to you. You want to be on our mailing list, or our email list? You know, we send an email every week. Here are the upcoming programs. Here's what's coming up, and next month, things like that. Absolutely, we are open to everybody. We want people to come. We want you to feel safe. We want it to be a place where we can have conversations. Sometimes difficult, sometimes fun, sometimes challenging, but we want to do those types of things. If you've been to the film series, you've probably seen that we have speakers sometimes at the end of the series to talk about a film and why it was important. Again, COVID has been challenging, I'm sure, for everybody, but we're trying to promote however we can. So if there's ideas or there's ways to get it out there, the film series in particular, we do partner with the Chattanooga Theater Center and the CSO, so it does get out there. But the more that we can let people know what's going on, and please come, please share. Yes, sir.
Do you know that local extremist groups have been identified?
Yeah.
Particularly, I mean, in Hamilton County.
Yes, they have. So when it comes to the security for the community, I tend to be the point person for the Jewish community. So I have relationships with the local FBI, Homeland Security, Chattanooga Police Department, on and on and on. About, 2004, so it was after 9/11, the Jewish community decided that security, we knew security was an issue. It was an issue then, it's even more so now. And we funded and continue to fund an organization called Secure Community Network, SCN. They are the premier organization for security and trainings. They do research, they identify these pockets of peoples and things like that. And where our government, freedom, which is great, this organization can feed information to the FBI and to the police to say, did you know about this group? Did you know about this person? Did you know about this person? And we can put them on that radar list. The Anti-Defamation League does that. The Southern Poverty Law Center does that. Our organization, SCAN, does that. They're here. They're here. Again, I think they've always been here. They've just been underground. Now they're not underground anymore. Yes, behind Julie, and then Julie.
To comment on that, I teach in Broward County Schools, and a few years ago, we went through some gang awareness training.
Great.
With the local police department, and they had a map, and they showed where different gangs were, and the largest number of gangs were white supremacists.
Yep.
In Broward County. You think that's so small, but that's where most of them were.
The Anti-Defamation League on their website has, it's called the heat map, H-E-A-T, like a heat map, and it shows the points all over it's a little frightening in the sense of, but it's reality. It's where it's eye-opening. Thank you. again, that's the reason for it's eye-opening. We're just trying to make people aware that these things are out there. And again, if they hate me, they probably hate lots of other things. They're not living in a vacuum. It's not in a bubble. Yeah. I'm glad, by the way, that your school brought that in. Again, we shouldn't have to think of, we're doing active shooter drills in schools now and all. It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't understand that kind of hate. I honestly don't. I have tried. My wife and I, how do you comprehend that somebody goes in to a house of worship or to a school or whatever, and we know what happens? It doesn't make sense, that kind of hate. To have that, how do you have that in your heart? So, Julie.
Well, that kind of lends to where I was headed. Weston was going on 2, and I was trying to find a daycare to get back to work, that kind of thing. And I was like, I don't want Mother's Day out. That doesn't do me any good, So I searched and searched, and one day, we knew it as the tennis ball.
Yeah. The old Jewish, if you've been in Chattanooga for a long time, our cultural center is where that big white bubble used to be over our tennis court. Yeah.
I was taking that curve, and there was a big sign that said, part-time daycare. So I literally just turned and of course, I went up to the door, you couldn't get in, There were reasons I came to learn. But I slowly integrated Weston into the program by 2 days a week or
Right.
whatever. But I did not have knowledge of the Jewish culture really prior to that experience. So then Bella comes along and we go through that. But I went to festivities and programs, and there's so much love that comes out of our one building. It's unbelievable. But I say that to say it starts at home.
It does.
It just starts when they're, because I didn't, not that mom and dad, there was no negativity or whatever, but there was no discussion. It just, and honestly, dad did a lot of work for a lot,
Yeah.
And his relationships with a lot of Jewish people that he knew were all great, fantastic, fantastic relationships. And so, but it really started at home, and then, just developed, and I realized I didn't know anything about the culture. And I felt kind of stupid about it. But as you go through, and I learned, but the things that they do out of the cultural center are just unbelievable, because Michael's kind of my go-to when
Yep.
Thomas is my other go-to. I got this problem, but there's solutions there that you wouldn't even think. So Mitzvah Mills, we've been on Mitzvah Mills now for, I'm going to guess 2 years, I'm not really sure. But I was running into trouble getting a nutrition.
That's like the Meals on Wheels program that we run. Yeah.
It's wonderful, and it's made, I'm assuming Alice.
Oh, yeah, it's Alice.
They have a kosher kitchen that you can't go into. Or it won't be kosher. But anyway, long story short, I learned, and then, Weston was going to Shabbats on Friday.
Yep.
I don't know what that is. So you can come and go, and the rabbi comes in and goes through the program, and you realize the beauty of their religion, their culture, their people. But I didn't have that experience
Right.
until I turned in there. And then, as it developed, and by the way, Mike can dance.
Oh, no, he can't. Oh, no, he can't.
Fundraisers are a lot of fun, but they also are very serious about what they try to provide, and they don't look for a pat on the back.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know all the things that they reach out and do. But I would just want to go back and say it starts at home.
It does start at
So
home.
it started, then I learned, and then it's, conversations come up, and there's still, Weston's in college, and this is just a slight, small example. His phone and iPhone got messed up, and so all his contacts, and this was just like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, where is all these, and I'm like looking to see, like, these contacts aren't my contacts, what are these, and one of them said Jew. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm not liking that, like, what is that, so I literally got on the phone and called him right then and there, and I said, what is this contact and what does it mean? And he's like, well, that's what he introduced me as, that's his name. But that's not his name.
No.
But that young man called his son Jew, and that's what Weston had in his phone.
And really,
I still have more questions.
right, sure.
Because I'm thinking, well, why does that young man think?
Yeah, it's not appropriate really to call somebody a Jew. You call them, they're Jewish. Now look, if I were to, I don't walk around saying, oh, you're Baptist and you're Presbyterian, you're Episcopal. Why do we do that with Jews? I don't know why. Oh, that Jew. No, that person is Jewish. Is the proper way if you're going to say that. And you knew, but you knew.
But I knew. But the only reason why I knew is because of
Well.
the experience of knowing. And so you wouldn't always have the same experiences that I've had, with the Jewish culture. So
Right.
because you might not have the need.
Look, there's plenty of daycares and children's centers that are, the church, they're fantastic, and the Primroses, they're wonderful. I think, and I'm putting words in your mouth, what makes our preschool so unique, which, by the way, it's a Jewish preschool of which maybe 20% of the kids are Jewish. But we couldn't do a Jewish preschool if it wasn't for you, because we need that support, just like with anything else. But you're right, they get to learn a couple prayers that are in Hebrew to welcome our Sabbath. But tell me what the difference is when you welcome your Sabbath if you were to light a candle and thank God for what we've been given. I know we said a prayer before. There's no difference. You say grace before a meal, you can pray, thank God for the nourishment we're getting. That's doing the motzi. It's doing the blessing over the bread, right? We have so many more similarities than differences. We just do things a little bit differently the way that we do that. And it is about experiences. It's also about, as you said, it's from home. And a lot of the people that come to Aleph Bet, our preschool, are looking, they want the more diversity, I guess is a way of saying it. Again, nothing wrong with a church preschool or anything else. It's that they want their kids to be around other people and to learn other things. And we celebrate that, right? We celebrate that. And if the kids get to learn what Hanukkah is and they get to learn what Passover is, trust me, the non-Jewish kids are learning about Christmas already. It's out there. They're learning all those things. They're learning it at home as well. So, if they don't celebrate Halloween at our school, but they get to celebrate and dress up for the holiday of Purim, which is the book of Esther, great, right? We've opened their minds, because now these kids that are 4 and 5 years old and go off to kindergarten, they don't look at somebody as, that one's got black skin, and this one's got this, and this one's got that, and they're Jewish and they're Christian. They look at, that's Billy, and that's Bobby, and that's Susan. We can still recognize our differences, and we can understand that. But if we don't think that anti-Semitism or racism or any of those isms are not taught, they're not born with that stuff. People teach them. They learn it somewhere. So thank you, Julie, for sharing that. Yes, ma'am.
I bet you know Helen and Stanley Smith.
I do. Stanley just passed not long ago.
And so I was honored to go to, you pronounce it Shiva?
Yes.
And I went to that at their, where they
At Ashwood. Mm-hmm.
And I must say, it was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my whole life. So I encourage everybody, if you get to go to one, go. The readings that the rabbi did from whatever book that was, they were some of the most meaningful readings I've ever heard at a funeral, memorial.
So Shiva is a Jewish custom, tradition, that after somebody passes away and after they are buried, that we've turned the focus from the person who has passed away to the family that is still living. And a lot of times they'll be at their home and people come to visit. Sometimes there's a service. It sounds like, yeah, exactly. Look, I think there's many beautiful traditions and customs with Christianity and Islam and all these religions. Judaism, I feel, does this one pretty well. And that at a funeral, if you were to go to a Jewish funeral, we, the community, actually bury the individual. First of all, the body is prepared and cleaned, just bathed, and we're in a simple box, casket. We lower the casket into the grave, and we, the community, scoop dirt onto there. Now, some people fully cover it, some people whatever, but in Judaism, it is the highest kind of giving, because the person does not know that we did that for them, and you can't be thanked. Now, it is gut-wrenching when you put that shovel and you hear that hollowness, and then as the people leave, the family walks through a line of people so they can feel the comfort. We go back to their home, have the service, things like this. It is a way to then tell happy memories and stories and remember the person and comfort the surviving. It is beautiful. It really is. Again, I know that there's beautiful traditions all around. This is one I find very moving because I feel it's very thoughtful. Sometimes with, religion is all about faith, right? You can't really prove faith, but we have faith. You take a leap of faith, right? But this one is comforting. This one, it feels comforting to the family. And it's still hard, right? You're in the biggest crisis ever. And here the community comes out, friends come out to support them. And Helen and Stanley, whew, he was a funny guy too, wasn't he? Yeah. Yes, sir.
I've got a question. I know Mitzvah
Mm-hmm.
congregation, so how many synagogues are in?
Great question. There are 3 synagogues. Mizpah, that you're referring on Macaulay Avenue, is the Reformed congregation. Sometimes people will say it's Reformed. No, it's Reformed. There's no ED at the end. It's a Reformed congregation. B'nai Zion, which is our conservative synagogue that used to be in Brainerd, but their building is no longer there anymore. So they're sharing space with Mizpah. So Mizpah's using the upstairs and B'nai Zion's using the downstairs while they're figuring things out. And then a more traditional, some people would say even Orthodox, is called Chabad. It's been here in Chattanooga for about 10 or 12 years now, and they're on Vine Street. So there's 3 congregations, and so there's many opportunities. And somebody said, come to the cultural center. Absolutely. If you want to go experience a service at a synagogue, you can go. Please do. It's a unique experience. There's English, there's Hebrew. If you were to go multiple times, you would see the pattern in what we do. We're reading from the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, every single week. I find it very, very interesting. When my kids were younger, they're in their 20s now. It's hard for me to believe my kids are in their 20s, but they're in their 20s. They would have friends. Dad, I'm going to spend the night with so-and-so, and we're going to go to church the next day. Is that okay? Yeah, it is okay. I know that what I've taught them, but I want them to know what other things are out there and experience those joyful moments with their friends. And when my kids had their bat mitzvah, it's kind of their coming of age in the Jewish tradition, where we see our kids as adults at 12 and 13, invite your friends, please. Let them have that experience, because when other time are these kids going to be able to experience a Jewish service or a celebration or anything like that? So please, that was me. And I love seeing the non-Jewish community come to experience and learn. If you come for the right reasons to learn and experience, right? It's not malicious in any way, just to learn, educate. So, yeah. Yes, sir, back.
Yeah, could you tell us about the history and about the Jewish cemetery in Red Bank?
Yes. So in Jewish tradition, he asked, by the way, the cemetery in Red Bank, I think we have 4 cemeteries. That one actually is B'nai Zion. It's terraced on a hill. It's actually quite beautiful. In Jewish tradition, when a community is formed, so in Chattanooga it was about in the 1860s, 1865, before you build a synagogue, before you do anything, the first thing that we're supposed to do is build a cemetery. Now, when that cemetery was founded, there were no bridges in Chattanooga. That's to tell you how old it is. So a funeral would take literally all day, because you'd have to cross the river on a boat and take, the casket. So the conservative synagogue runs that cemetery. I want to say late 1800s to early 1900s. I think that synagogue, B'nai Zion, was founded in 1888, I think. Mizpah was founded in 1865 or 1866. So the Jewish community in Chattanooga has been around for a long time. And there's, like I said, there's 4 cemeteries. Of course, 3 synagogues, 4 cemeteries. It's like a bad joke, but what can I say? We have to have some humor too. Yes.
One of the things you said many times tonight is that you want to be able to have the opportunity to get awareness out to the community.
Sure.
You've been able to make this community here tonight more aware
Right.
by your presence.
Right.
And it came to us through a relationship and a conversation that you had.
Mhm.
Now that we are more aware and we're in the community and we now have a relationship, what other groups would you like the opportunity to sit in front of to make more aware that maybe
The short answer is yes. Anybody. Everybody. You know, when the new mayor was elected, I make appointments to them, not because they can help me or I can help them. I just want them to know that we're here. I want them to know that we exist and that if we can be supportive of any way, the new chief of police, I met with her just so she knew that we were here. Again, anybody that you can open a door, that you can introduce. Again, the reason Vic and I were actually talking was something to do with Baylor. That it turned out that I met the chaplain at Baylor. Vic introduced us. We had lunch, and he invited me to come and speak to the student body, which I'm going to do in a few weeks. And then Vic, in his last email, thank you so much. This is great. And oh, by the way, on a personal note, because we have the relationship. So there's 50 or 60 people in this room that have friends that may go to another church. Maybe you're with Rotary or Kiwanis or whatever civic organization, whatever it is, your neighborhood association, it doesn't matter. We think that people need to be aware. And again, if we can learn and have the dialogue, even better. The first thing is that awareness, because you can't learn and understand until you're aware. We don't know what we don't know. So yes, if there's people on this route, you know people, JewishChattanooga.com, you can get to me, you can email, you can call. Call Vic. He has my cell phone. I think. I have his. Yeah.
Traditionally, do Jewish children go to Jewish school or go to public?
Great question. Do Jewish kids go to Jewish schools or they go to like public schools or private schools around? A lot of times in like larger communities, so I'm going to say Chicago, New York, Miami, there are Jewish day schools, Jewish high schools, and it doesn't mean that they're only learning in Hebrew or only learning Judaic studies. They learn math and science and everything else. They also have Judaics as well. But typically in a smaller community, like Chattanooga, it doesn't exist. There's not enough critical mass. When I grew up in Chattanooga in the 70s and 80s, there was a Jewish day school that was first grade through sixth grade. I was fortunate enough to go. You know, I used to complain about it, but now I look back, I'm like, oh my God, how fortunate. I really was fortunate to get that education. And I'm sure at some level that's what drove some of the passion that was in me, you know, when I was 10 years old. But no, most of all the kids in Chattanooga, they're at public schools, they're at Baylor, GPS, they're at Macaulay, they're all over. And look, some go to Boyd Buchanan or OLPH. I know my cousin went to OLPH. It's a great school. Notre Dame, I had some friends growing up that went to Notre Dame. You know, for some families that religious piece is challenging. For some, it's not as challenging. Again, it's also being around other people to make sure we're accepting and understand. But yeah, the majority of folks, at least here in smaller communities, and by the way, even in New York and Chicago, most of the kids still go to public or private schools, not a Jewish school, per se. It's a great question. How am I doing on time? We're getting close? I thought we had like 2 or 3 more hours, didn't we? No, I'm just kidding. Kidding. Ha, funny.
We'll make it, if I could make this one the last question on your behalf, what I'm interested in knowing and you sharing is what has the public reaction been to the billboards?
The public reaction to the billboards. So this was the most surprising thing to me because we debated this amongst our board of directors for months. And honestly, the people that were the most hesitant were the younger people. And I thought it was going to be reverse. I thought the older generation would be like, we don't need to do this and this. It was the younger people were like, are we putting ourselves out there? Are we making ourselves a target? What if somebody goes and paints a swastika on one of the billboards? And I say this privately, and I don't know if we're recording or not, but I'll still say it. If somebody would have done that, it would have been awful. And they would have made our point, right? During this last 8 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever the billboards have been up, and the speaking and talking and all this different stuff, this is the most shocking thing. I've had 0 negative. I didn't get one hateful email. I didn't get a hateful voice message. Nothing. I'm not saying it doesn't exist out there, but how easy would it have been to anonymously send me an email or whatever? Nobody. Not one negative comment. In fact, the Jewish community came out and they would see me at a program or an event. Oh my gosh, the billboards, it's amazing. this is great. We need to do this. We need to do this. All these different things. They were excited. They felt proud that we were standing up for ourselves. The non-Jewish community, again, the majority of, I've been reaching out to, but I would get calls and emails. Actually, the head pastor at First Centenary called me before I had a chance to call him. And what can we do? How can we help? We will do whatever you want. You want us to host an event? You want us to sponsor something? We'll take cards. Tell us what to do. I mean, how heartwarming is that, right? I mean, you invited me into your home to have an intimate conversation about a challenging topic. This is what friendships are about. So we are overwhelmed with the support, and people, what can we do? When we hear that, that's the call it out part. Be there with us. We'll be there with you. And hopefully 99.9% of the time, we're having celebrations and we're having dinners together and we're learning from each other and we're enjoying each other's company. And on these unfortunate things, let's stand up together and let's push it back. Let's push it underground. So very thankful that this has been the response. And I'm very thankful for all of you for being so attentive and asking some great questions. And I'm happy to hang around for a few minutes and talk now. We can go to coffee, whatever you'd like. And again, thank you for the invitation. That's Tom and Vic. Really, friendship, I appreciate it very much. Thank you. And there are some, if you want a postcard, if you want information about the Holocaust exhibit that's at the library, I've just put them on the table off to the side. Please take them if you would like, and I'll have a wonderful and safe evening.